The interstellar void rippled as the human starship Prometheus emerged from a swirling wormhole. Aboard the bridge, Captain Elena Myrov stared out at the planet Zaloria, a jewel of emerald and azure hanging against the black curtain of space. Beside her, First Officer Liu Chang monitored the readings flickering across his console. Stable emergence from the wormhole, Captain, Liu reported, his voice steady despite the historic nature of their journey. All systems nominal. Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the view. Take us into a standard orbit, Liu. And begin broadcasting our greeting message. Let's hope the Zalorians are as welcoming as the Alliance ambassadors suggested. As the Prometheus approached, the ship's linguist, Dr. Sarah Jennings, adjusted the transmission frequencies. Broadcasting in Zalorian and Standard Galactic, she confirmed, turning to Elena with a hopeful smile. Fingers crossed, Captain. The waiting was the hardest part. The crew of the Prometheus watched the planet rotate slowly below, its vast forests and sprawling oceans a stark contrast to the cold metal of their ship. Elena paced the bridge, her mind racing through every possible scenario they might face. After what seemed like an eternity, the console beeped, a signal back from the planet. Dr. Jennings patched it through the main speaker. A voice, melodious and calm, filled the bridge. Starship Prometheus, this is Zaloria Control. We welcome you in peace. Please hold your current position and prepare for a delegation to come aboard for first contact protocols. Elena let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Zaloria Control, this is Captain Elena Myrov. We welcome your delegation and await your arrival with anticipation. Prometheus out. She turned to her crew, a tight-knit group that had trained for years for this mission. Well, folks, this is it. Make sure the reception area is ready and that everyone knows the protocol. We have one chance to make a first impression. The hours passed, and soon, a sleek Zalorian shuttle approached, docking smoothly with the Prometheus. Elena and her senior officers assembled in the reception area, where they had laid out displays of human culture, artwork, books, and a digital encyclopedia of Earth. The shuttle doors opened, and 3 Zalorians stepped out. They were tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like the surface of a pond at sunrise. The leader, who introduced herself as Ambassador Tyla, extended a hand, which Elena shook gently. Captain Myrov, it is an honor to meet you, Tyla said, her voice echoing softly around the room. Your journey here marks a significant moment in our shared history. The honor is ours, Ambassador, Elena replied. Humanity has looked forward to joining the galactic community. We hope to learn much from the Alliance, and perhaps to offer knowledge of our own. Tyla nodded, her eyes scanning the room. Your gifts, they are representations of your world. Elena walked her over to a painting of Earth's landscapes. Yes, Ambassador. This is an artwork depicting our home world, its diversity and its beauty. We bring these as a symbol of our desire to share and integrate. Tyla's gaze lingered on the artwork. Beautiful, she murmured. Much like Zaloria, yet very different. It is our hope, too, that this meeting will be the beginning of a fruitful relationship. Dr. Jennings stepped forward, presenting a digital tablet. We've also brought an archive of our knowledge, science, history, culture. It's all here for you to explore. Tyla accepted the tablet, her fingers brushing the screen. And we shall share ours with you. It is the Zalorian way to exchange knowledge freely. May our interactions always be thus, open and beneficial. As the meeting continued, the crew of the Prometheus and the Zalorian delegates engaged in discussions that ranged from technology to philosophy. It was the beginning of what Elena hoped would be a long and prosperous relationship. As the Zalorians departed, Elena turned to her crew, a proud smile on her face. Well done, everyone. Let's keep this momentum going. Humanity has a lot to offer, and much to learn. Back on the bridge, she watched Zaloria rotate below, its cities twinkling in the twilight of the setting sun. Chart a new course, she told Liu. It's time to explore this new world we're a part of. And with that, the Prometheus continued its orbit, a symbol of humanity's journey into the vast, star-filled galaxy. As the Prometheus settled into a stable orbit around Zaloria, Captain Elena Myrov organized her thoughts in preparation for their first formal meeting on the planet's surface. The ship buzzed with excitement and a fair amount of nervous energy. Every member of the crew understood the magnitude of these initial exchanges. "Captain, the Zalorian Council has sent coordinates for our landing. They've invited us to their capital, Serenity Grove," announced Liu Chang, looking up from his navigation panel. Elena nodded. "Inform the crew, Liu. We'll depart within the hour. I want everyone in dress uniform. This is as ceremonial as it gets." In the hangar, the crew assembled, adjusting their uniforms and checking their equipment. Dr. Sarah Jennings approached Elena, her expression one of cautious optimism. "Do you think they'll be open to our proposals for technological exchange, Captain?" Elena placed a reassuring hand on Sarah's shoulder. "We'll start slow, build trust. Remember, it's not just about what we gain but also what we can contribute." The landing craft descended through Zaloria's atmosphere, passing over expansive forests and vast bodies of water that sparkled under the twin suns. The natural beauty of the planet was breathtaking. Upon landing, the crew was greeted by a delegation led by Ambassador Tyla, who escorted them to a vast, open-air assembly area, where members of the Zalorian Council awaited. The area was surrounded by towering trees with iridescent leaves, the ground covered in soft, moss-like vegetation. "Welcome to Serenity Grove, home of our governing council," Tyla said, spreading her arms in a welcoming gesture. "We hope you find peace and wisdom here." Elena stepped forward, extending a hand. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored to be here and eager to learn from you." The council members, each displaying subtle variations in the hue and pattern of their skin, greeted the humans with a traditional Zalorian gesture, placing their right hand over their heart and bowing slightly. One of the council elders, a venerable figure with deep green markings, addressed the group. "Your arrival has been foretold by our seers, though the interpretations of their visions vary greatly. Some see great prosperity, while others warn of potential strife. We must tread carefully." Elena acknowledged the elder's words with a nod. "We understand the weight of our presence here and desire only to be a force for good among the stars. Our history has taught us much about the challenges of coexistence and the value of peace." The meeting transitioned into a more formal session, with humans and Zalorians exchanging information about their histories, cultures, and technologies. Dr. Jennings presented a holographic display of Earth's major historical events and technological achievements. A council member, intrigued, pointed to a depiction of the International Space Station. "Your species has a strong inclination towards exploration and collaboration. It is admirable, yet it brings many challenges, does it not?" Elena smiled, acknowledging the point. "It does. But each challenge also brings us together, pushes us to find common ground. Just as we hope to do here." As the suns began to set, casting long shadows over the grove, the council proposed a tour of their capital. The humans were shown various technological marvels, including their advanced energy systems that harnessed natural elements without disrupting the ecosystem. During the tour, First Officer Liu whispered to Elena, "They've managed to integrate technology and nature in ways we've barely imagined." "Yes," Elena replied, her eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and inspiration. "There's much we can learn from them. And hopefully, much they can learn from us." As night fell, the delegation was treated to a traditional Zalorian meal, featuring an array of exotic fruits and vegetables, each with unique flavors and textures. The meal was accompanied by a performance of Zalorian music, characterized by complex harmonies that resonated with the natural sounds of the planet. After the meal, Tyla approached Elena. "Captain Myrov, today was a fruitful beginning. May I ask what your primary hopes are for our continued interaction?" Elena considered the question, looking around at her crew mingling with their hosts. "Ambassador, above all, we seek friendship. We hope to build a partnership that benefits both our peoples. One that extends beyond trade and technology, to mutual understanding and respect." Tyla nodded thoughtfully. "It is a noble goal, Captain. One that I share. Let us then proceed with both our eyes open and our hearts willing to learn. As the crew returned to the Prometheus that night, Elena felt a sense of accomplishment. They had taken their first steps on a new world and had been met with curiosity and cautious warmth. The journey ahead would be full of challenges, but for now, the path forward looked promising. After several weeks of diplomatic exchanges and cultural sharing, the humans had begun to feel more at home on Zaloria. The Prometheus crew, under the watchful eyes of Captain Elena Myrov and her officers, worked diligently to cement a foundation of trust with the Zalorian Council. However, a discovery by one of the human scientists threatened to unravel the delicate tapestry of interspecies relations they had woven. Dr. Henry Wallace, a botanist and geneticist aboard the Prometheus, stumbled upon a unique plant during a joint research expedition in the dense Zalorian forests. The plant emitted a bioluminescent glow and had properties unlike anything documented in human or Zalorian science. Back aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Wallace discussed his findings with Captain Myrov and Dr. Sarah Jennings in the ship's lab. The plant samples sat secured under a biosafety hood, their soft pulsing light casting eerie shadows. "Captain, the preliminary tests are unlike anything I've ever seen," Dr. Wallace began, his excitement barely contained. "This plant contains compounds that could revolutionize medicine. Early tests suggest it could significantly enhance cell regeneration and might even combat severe diseases back on Earth." Elena leaned forward, her interest piqued yet cautious. "That sounds promising, Henry, but we need to consider the Zalorian laws. How does this discovery fit with their regulations on native biota?" Dr. Jennings, who had been liaising with Zalorian scholars, chimed in. "The Zalorians are very protective of their ecosystems. They believe every element of their environment is interconnected. We'd need their full cooperation and consent to explore this further." "Understood," Elena replied. "Let's arrange a meeting with Ambassador Tyla and the Council. We'll present our findings transparently and see how they wish to proceed." A few days later, the Prometheus crew and Zalorian Council gathered in one of the Council's meeting halls, a structure seamlessly integrated into a living grove of towering trees. The walls were alive with the soft glow of bioluminescent vines, reflecting the nature of the discovery at hand. Dr. Wallace presented a detailed report on the plant, including its potential benefits to medicine and science. The Zalorians listened intently, their expressions unreadable. Ambassador Tylo was the first to respond after the presentation. "This discovery is indeed remarkable, Dr. Wallace. However, you must understand our concerns. This plant, like all elements of our world, is part of a greater whole. Its removal, even for research, could have unforeseen consequences." Council Elder Morale, a figure respected for her deep knowledge of Zalorian ecology, added, "Our ancestors learned the hard lessons of taking more than what was needed. We must deliberate carefully on how to proceed without harming the balance of our world." Elena acknowledged their concerns. "We respect your connection to your environment and your laws. Our intention isn't to exploit but to collaborate. Perhaps we could establish a controlled research environment here, on Zaloria, under your supervision." The council murmured among themselves, considering the proposal. After a lengthy discussion, they agreed to a trial period of research with strict limitations and under constant supervision. Weeks into the research, the Prometheus lab was converted into a joint human-Zalorian scientific station. Dr. Wallace and a team of Zalorian scientists worked side by side, studying the plant's properties and its role within the ecosystem. One evening, as the lab buzzed with activity, Elena visited to check on the progress. Dr. Wallace greeted her with a weary smile. "It's been an incredible journey, Captain. The more we learn, the more we realize how much there is to discover." As they spoke, an alarm sounded. One of the plant samples had begun to deteriorate rapidly. The team scrambled, implementing containment protocols. "What's happening?" Elena asked, concern marking her features. Dr. Wallace examined the data flashing on his monitor. "It seems the plant's health is linked to its habitat more deeply than we thought. It's not just the soil or the climate, it's the entire ecosystem. Removing it from its natural environment, even though we're still on Zaloria, was too much of a strain. Elena's heart sank. Shut down the experiments, Henry. We can't risk damaging their world. This was supposed to be about building bridges, not burning them. The next day, a meeting was called with the Zolorian Council. Elena expressed her apologies and detailed the immediate cessation of the research. Ambassador Tyla appreciated the honesty and quick action. Your respect for our laws and our world reinforces my belief that this partnership can work, she said. Let us consider this a learning experience for us all. The incident served as a poignant reminder of the responsibilities that came with the power of human ingenuity. For Elena and her crew, it underscored the need for sensitivity and respect in the exploration of new worlds. In the wake of the halted plant research, tensions on Zoloria simmered beneath a facade of diplomatic calm. The incident had exposed a rift not only between human and Zolorian perspectives but also among the humans themselves. Some members of the Prometheus crew, particularly those from the medical and scientific sectors, felt frustrated by the lost opportunity to explore potentially groundbreaking medical advancements. Others, especially those in diplomatic roles, understood the necessity of adhering to Zolorian laws and traditions to maintain peace and trust. Captain Elena Myrov convened a meeting with her senior staff in the Prometheus's main conference room to address the brewing discontent. We're walking a fine line here, Elena began, her tone serious as she surveyed her team. I know many of you are disappointed about the shutdown of the plant research, but we must respect our host's ecological beliefs and legal structures. We cannot afford to be seen as exploiters. Dr. Henry Wallace, who had been leading the research, leaned forward, his expression one of restrained frustration. Captain, I understand and respect the Zolorians' wishes, but you know what's at stake. The compounds in that plant could save thousands, maybe millions back on Earth. We can't just walk away from that. Elena nodded. I'm aware, Henry, and I'm not suggesting we abandon our goals. But we must find a way that aligns with Zolorian principles. Perhaps there's a compromise that allows us to continue our research without harming their ecosystem. The ship's cultural liaison, Officer Maria Gonzalez, chimed in. What if we propose a joint research initiative? One that involves not only study but also conservation efforts. We could help preserve their natural habitats while studying the plant under controlled conditions that they approve. Elena considered this. Maria, draft a proposal along those lines. Henry, work with her to ensure the scientific aspects are sound and respectful of Zolorian rules. We'll present it together to the Council. Meanwhile, news of the plant's potential and the subsequent research halt leaked to the wider crew and sparked heated debates. In the ship's mess hall, a group of crew members gathered around a table, discussing the situation with varying degrees of passion. We came here to push the boundaries of science, to bring back something useful, argued one of the engineers, Alex Chen. If we just bend to every whim of the Zolorians, what's the point of our mission? The ship's ethical officer, Simone Durand, countered, our first duty is to do no harm. Exploring new worlds isn't just about what we can take from them, it's about what we can learn and how we can coexist respectfully. The debates were not confined to the Prometheus. Word spread through the local Zolorian media about the extraordinary properties of the plant and the humans' interest in it. The Zolorian public opinion was split, some were curious and hopeful about the potential benefits, while others feared exploitation and disruption of their natural world. As the situation escalated, small protests began to form in major Zolorian cities. Signs with messages like "Protect our planet," "Preserve our peace," and "Human greed knows no bounds" appeared in crowds. The planetary government found itself under pressure to reassess its relationship with the humans. Ambassador Tyla called a meeting with Captain Myrov to discuss the growing unrest. They met in a quiet garden, away from the prying eyes and ears of the media and the public. Elena, I must confess, the situation is becoming quite delicate, Tyla began, her voice low. There are factions within our council and among the public that question the wisdom of allowing human activities on Zoloria. The leak about the plant has only fueled these fires. Elena sighed, the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. I understand, Tyla. And I regret that our presence has caused such division. My crew and I came in peace, and our intent has not changed. We are drafting a new proposal that includes stringent safeguards for your environment and an offer to assist in conservation efforts. Tyla looked at Elena, her expression unreadable. I appreciate your efforts, Elena, but I fear it may not be enough. The sentiment against your research is strong, and it's driven by fear, fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of loss. You must address these fears directly if you hope to regain our trust. The conversation marked a turning point for Elena. She realized that the mission's success, or its failure, hinged not just on scientific or diplomatic achievements, but on the ability to foster genuine understanding and partnership. As they parted, Elena knew the coming days would require not just careful negotiation but a sincere effort to connect with the Zalorian people and alleviate their fears. The atmosphere aboard the Prometheus and on Zaloria grew increasingly tense as the diplomatic rift deepened. News of the ongoing debates and the public protests reached the wider galactic community, casting a shadow over the human presence on Zaloria and raising concerns among other member species of the Interstellar Alliance. Captain Elena Myrov realized that the situation was swiftly escalating beyond a simple scientific dispute, potentially leading to a diplomatic crisis that could result in open conflict. In response, Elena convened an emergency meeting with her senior staff and key Zalorian representatives, including Ambassador Tyla, to formulate a strategy that could de-escalate tensions. Let's review our options, Elena began, addressing the room with a firm tone. We need a plan that addresses the Zalorians' environmental concerns directly while also highlighting the mutual benefits of our research. Any ideas? Dr. Henry Wallace, still passionate about the plant's potential, suggested, what if we enhance our proposal with a more robust oversight from Zalorian scientists? We could set up a bioconservation area where the plant can be studied and protected under their terms. Ambassador Tyla, looking thoughtful, responded, while your dedication to the project is commendable, Dr. Wallace, the fear among my people is not just about the plant. It's about setting a precedent. How we handle this will determine future interactions not just with humans, but possibly with other Alliance species. Elena nodded, understanding the broader implications. Then let's make this a model for future interspecies scientific endeavors. We ensure absolute transparency, involve the local community, and integrate traditional Zalorian ecological knowledge into the project. As they discussed potential solutions, the ship's communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. Captain, you need to see this. There's been an incident in one of the Zalorian cities, apparently triggered by anti-human sentiment. It's all over the news. The room fell silent as the footage showed a human diplomatic convoy being pelted with objects by a crowd of protesters. The situation had quickly escalated, and local security forces struggled to restore order. This is exactly what we feared, Tyla said, her voice tense. We must act quickly to prevent further incidents. Perhaps it's time for a joint public address, Captain. We need to show a united front. Elena agreed. Let's prepare a statement. We'll emphasize our commitment to Zaloria's sovereignty and our respect for your traditions. It's crucial we get this right. The following day, Elena and Tyla stood together in Zaloria's Grand Assembly, broadcasting live to the entire planet. Elena spoke first. People of Zaloria, I stand before you not just as a representative of humanity, but as someone who has grown to respect and admire your culture and your commitment to preserving your world. The incident yesterday was deeply unfortunate and not reflective of our mission or our values. Tyla then took over, her tone conciliatory yet firm. We recognize the fears that have arisen from our collaboration with the humans. It is natural to fear what we do not understand. However, let us not allow fear to dictate our actions. Instead, let us use it as a catalyst for creating stronger safeguards and clearer communication. Their speech was well received by many, but the unrest had already sown deep seeds of mistrust. Over the next few weeks, Elena and Tyla worked tirelessly, meeting with local leaders, attending community forums, and participating in cultural exchanges to rebuild trust. Despite these efforts, a small faction within the Zalorian military saw the continuing human presence as an existential threat. This faction began to rally for more drastic measures, and soon, whispers of a military coup began to circulate. One evening, while reviewing reports in her office, Elena received a clandestine communication from a sympathetic Silurian official. "Captain Myrov, be aware that there are elements within our military preparing to seize control. They intend to force an end to human activities on Siluria." Elena sat back, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She immediately contacted Tyla to discuss the warning. Together, they devised a plan to address the military faction before it could act, calling for an emergency session with the Silurian Council and the Alliance observers to expose the plot and reaffirm their commitment to peace. As the emergency session convened, tensions were high. Elena addressed the assembly, her voice steady but urgent. This moment may define the future of not only Siluria but potentially the entire Alliance. "We stand before you committed to peace and partnership. Let us choose dialogue over division, understanding over unrest." The session stretched into the night, with heated debates and fervent pleas for unity. By dawn, the faction's plans were publicly exposed and denounced, leading to a recommitment to diplomatic processes and an official censure of the military agitators. As the Prometheus crew and the Silurian leaders emerged from the assembly, tired but hopeful, Elena and Tyla shared a quiet moment of relief. "We've averted a crisis today," Tyla said, gratitude evident in her voice. Elena nodded, looking up at the stars. "Yes, but our work is far from over. Let's continue to build bridges, not just for us, but for all who watch and wait to see what becomes of our two worlds together." After the tumultuous events that had threatened to escalate into open conflict, a sense of cautious optimism began to settle over both the human and Silurian communities. The averted military coup had exposed the depth of the fears and suspicions that each side harbored, and now, with a renewed commitment to dialogue, both parties were eager to rebuild trust and move forward. Captain Elena Myrov convened a series of meetings with her senior staff aboard the Prometheus to outline the next steps in their diplomatic mission. The main agenda was to strengthen the ties through joint initiatives that benefited both humanity and Siluria. "Let's focus on sustainability projects," Elena suggested during one of the strategy sessions. "We have the technology to help improve energy efficiency and waste management here, and it's a non-invasive way to contribute positively to their society." Dr. Henry Wallace, who had been somewhat sidelined since the cessation of his botanical research, saw an opportunity. "What about a joint ecological study? Not just focusing on that one plant, but looking at broader environmental impacts and conservation strategies. It could be a way to apply our science without overstepping." Elena nodded approvingly. "That's a good start, Henry. Draft a proposal and make sure it aligns with Silurian ecological ethics. We'll present it to the council by the end of the week." Meanwhile, on Siluria, Ambassador Tyla worked tirelessly to soothe the lingering tensions among her people. She organized a series of cultural exchanges and invited humans to participate in Silurian festivals, promoting understanding and camaraderie. During one such festival, Elena and her crew were invited to attend a ceremony celebrating the Silurian New Year, an event symbolizing renewal and unity. The festival was held in the capital's largest public plaza, beautifully decorated with bioluminescent flowers and floating lanterns. As the ceremony commenced, Tyla addressed the gathered crowd, both Silurians and humans alike. "Today, we celebrate not just the passage of time, but the beginning of a new era of partnership with our friends from Earth. Together, we have faced challenges, but more importantly, we have overcome them through mutual respect and shared goals." Elena was given the honor to speak next. She stepped forward, her heart full of hope. "On behalf of humanity, I thank you for your trust and your friendship. We look forward to learning from you and sharing with you all that we have. Together, let's build a future that our children, human and Silurian alike, will be proud of." The festival continued with traditional Silurian music and dance, and the humans were encouraged to join in. As the night progressed, the sight of humans and Silurians dancing together, laughing and sharing stories, was a powerful testament to the resilience of their growing friendship. Back on the Prometheus, these cultural experiences were mirrored by collaborative scientific projects. Dr. Wallace led a team that included both human and Zolorian scientists, working on the ecological study that monitored environmental health indicators across Zoloria. One afternoon, in the newly established Joint Research Lab, Dr. Wallace discussed their findings with a Zolorian ecologist, Dr. Liren. Our data suggests that with a few small adjustments to the water purification systems, we can increase efficiency by nearly 20% without any additional stress on the local ecosystems, he explained, showing her the simulation results on his screen. Dr. Liren, intrigued, nodded her head thoughtfully. This is impressive, Dr. Wallace. Your understanding of mechanical systems combined with our knowledge of natural bioprocesses could indeed lead to significant advancements. Let's prepare a presentation for the Council. The positive outcomes from these cooperative efforts were numerous and led to significant improvements in Zoloria's infrastructure and environmental management. These successes were documented and broadcast across Zoloria and to other planets within the Alliance, showcasing the benefits of human-Zolorian cooperation. As the year drew to a close, the Prometheus crew was invited to attend a special session of the Zolorian Council, where a series of agreements were to be ratified, formalizing the collaborative projects and setting the stage for further joint ventures. During the session, a new agreement was signed, and Ambassador Tyla and Captain Myrov exchanged ceremonial gifts, a Zolorian sculpture for the Prometheus, and a set of Earth botanical prints for the Zolorian Council. As they shook hands, Tyla smiled at Elena. Captain Myrov, when you first arrived, I could not have envisioned this outcome. You have shown us that humanity is indeed a formidable force for innovation and, more importantly, for peace. Elena returned the smile, her eyes reflecting the deep satisfaction of hard-earned success. Ambassador Tyla, we've learned just as much from you. This is just the beginning. Our futures are now forever intertwined, and we are all the better for it. The signing ceremony was followed by a public celebration, where Elena, her crew, and their Zolorian counterparts came together once again in friendship and hope. Under the twin suns of Zoloria, they looked to a future that was brighter than any of them could have imagined. This new dawn was not just a testament to what had been achieved but a beacon for what could be accomplished together in the galaxies beyond.